Some people wake up at 4 a.m., completely refreshed, and never go back to sleep. Think about the last time that happened to you. No alarm pulling you out, no grogginess, just awake. For most people, that almost never happens. For 1% of humanity, it's every single morning, not because they're trying to, not discipline, not caffeine, not some billionaire grind set. A single difference in their DNA. That's it. A tiny number of people seem to have it. They fall asleep quickly, wake up before the alarm, and move through the day completely awake, on far less sleep than everyone else. Scientists sometimes call them natural short sleepers, and what researchers discovered inside their brains completely changed how we think about sleep. For years, people assumed people like this were lying or exaggerating. History is full of famous people who claimed they barely slept. Leonardo da Vinci was said to sleep in short bursts totaling less than 5 hours. We can't say for certain what his biology was. We can't go back and test his DNA, but his habits are well documented. And for a long time, most people just assumed he was pushing through exhaustion. Because for normal people, sleeping only 4 or 5 hours usually comes with a price: brain fog, mood swings, poor memory, slower reactions, higher risk of illness over time. Sleep deprivation affects almost everything. So scientists believed the rules applied to everyone. For decades, the message was simple: 8 hours, every night, no exceptions. That rule was wrong, at least for some people, until they found something strange. In 2009, scientists studying families with unusually short sleep patterns discovered a rare genetic mutation connected to sleep regulation. One of the genes involved became known as DEC2, and suddenly, the idea of natural short sleepers stopped sounding like a myth. Here's the simple version of what may be happening. Every day your brain is working non-stop, thinking, remembering, solving problems, processing stress, filtering information. And while all of that is happening, waste products slowly build up in the brain, almost like microscopic clutter. Sleep is when the brain finally gets time to recover and reset. It strengthens memories, balances hormones, repairs cells, and clears out waste that builds up during the day. For most people, that process takes around 7 to 9 hours. But researchers believe natural short sleepers may complete some of those recovery processes far more efficiently. Not because they are stronger, not because they have more willpower. Their brains may simply be built differently. Think about charging 2 phones. Both phones can reach 100%, but one charges incredibly fast. Same result, different hardware. That's what makes this so fascinating. But here's where it gets personal, because this next part applies to you, whether you have the mutation or not. Now look at the numbers. If someone naturally functions perfectly on 4 hours of sleep instead of 8, that's 4 extra hours every single day, 28 hours a week. Over a full year, that's roughly 60 extra days of waking life. 2 entire months, every year. Not 2 months of dragging yourself through exhaustion. 2 months of feeling completely normal, just awake. And here is the strange part. If a normal person forces themselves to sleep only 4 hours a night, the effects usually show up fast: tired, irritable, forgetful, slower. But natural short sleepers often don't show those same problems. Some studies even suggest they may stay energetic, optimistic, and mentally sharp despite sleeping far less than average. Their body isn't surviving on less sleep. It may simply be finishing recovery faster, and that leads to a very uncomfortable thought. What if humans don't all need the same amount of sleep? What if some people spend a third of their life asleep, while others are genetically built to need far less? We treat 8 hours almost like a law, a universal rule: get less, and you're doing something wrong. But sleep science is telling us something different. Biology may be far more individual than we assumed. The same way some people are naturally taller, or naturally faster, or naturally better at processing certain foods, some people may simply be built to need less sleep, not as a result of training, not as a result of discipline, just the way they were born. Now here's the part where people start questioning themselves. There are a few patterns researchers often notice in natural short sleepers. First, They tend to wake up naturally at almost the same time every day. No alarm, no struggle. Sometimes even before sunrise, their body simply finishes and opens its eyes. Second, they usually don't crash in the afternoon. No heavy 3 p.m. exhaustion. No desperate search for coffee just to stay functional. While most people are fighting to stay awake, they're still running at the same speed as morning. Third, sleeping too long can actually make them feel worse, not refreshed, heavy, sluggish. Almost like their body already finished hours ago and was just waiting. Of course, none of this automatically means someone has a rare sleep mutation. Some people simply adapt to routines better than others. Lifestyle, light exposure, stress levels, all of these affect sleep, and sleep science is still evolving. Researchers are still working to understand exactly how these genes function and whether other undiscovered mutations exist that do something similar. This is not settled science. It's one of the most actively studied areas in human biology right now. But one thing is clear. Sleep is not as simple as we once thought. For decades, scientists treated human sleep almost like a fixed rule, one size fits all. Now we know biology may be far more individual. And somewhere out there are probably people who spent their entire lives thinking everyone felt the way they do. Getting up early without effort, never needing a nap, feeling fully awake after what most people would call a terrible night. They assumed they were just morning people. They may be something more specific than that. So now I'm curious, how many hours of sleep do you actually need before you feel fully awake? 4, 6, 8, or, no matter how long you sleep, are you still tired? Drop it in the comments, because somewhere in this comment section might be a natural short sleeper who never even knew.